Welcome back to the Grand Solar Minimum channel. Today is December 30th, 2018. Happy Sunday to all. We are winding down the weekend with our weekend edition of Grand Solar Minimum News. Let's get right started. We got our solar wind speed sitting at 512.6 kilometers per second with a density of around 7.9. Take a look at this, guys. 0 sunspots. We are at that 220-day mark for 2018, and it looks like we're going to finish the rest of the year as well without a sunspot. We will be looking at day number 221 for 2018, and as it comes to a close. Now, let's take a look at what space weather has in store for us here, as we have another geomagnetic storm on the way. A hole in the sun's atmosphere is turning to face the Earth and is spewing a stream of solar wind in our direction. NASA Solar Dynamics Observatory photographed the structure on December 29th. They are expecting this storm to be coming sometime around January 4th of 2019. So we will start off with a bang as we head into 2019. Again, 14 days in a row without sunspots, and that puts us at 220 days without sunspots for 2018. TCI actually went up just a little bit to 35.2 billion watts. And taking a look at our KP indices, they're sitting at a 2, while our 24-hour max is at a quiet 3. And as we take a look at the SDO in motion, we will see that next coronal hole that is coming into Earth-facing direction. The active region that I was looking at once again in the eastern limb almost pulled a exact clone of the last active region that we saw coming around the eastern limb of the sun. So we are definitely not going to see a sunspot for the rest of 2018. At this point, it would appear that the only thing that we're going to be dealing with here over the next several days is this next coronal hole that is turning towards Earth as we speak. No major CMEs to report of here on our star as of late. Very weak CME action, if any at all. And taking a look at the back of the sun, where we kind of track to see if we have any sunspots on the way. Let's take a look and see what we can see. Here it is. A little zoomed in. Again, that region we were watching around the 180 is still making its way towards the eastern limb. I don't think it's as bright or as big as it was just a couple of days ago. However, we look like we have a quiet sun without any kind of sunspots threatening the region. A couple of bright active spots above, a little higher than what they should be for this current solar cycle. But again, nothing significant as of yet. We will continue to monitor this. Take a look at our TSI reading for December 21st, 2018. We came in at a 1360.6296. So TSI going down in a downward trend in the last 3 days. Let's see how much more it continues to drop. Let's get right into some headlines. Strong eruption at Shivelich volcano. Ash plume up to 36,000 feet. Now, we just talked about this volcano 2 days ago. On the 27th, we had an eruption. It was around, I believe, 16,000 feet. And in that article, in that show, we warned that their scientists were saying that they were expecting another explosion with an ash plume of 29 to 45,000 feet at any time. Well, here it is. Strong explosion took place at the Shivelich, one of the biggest volcanic structures in this area in Kamchatka in Russia. Late December 29th, 2018, forcing authorities to temporarily raise the aviation color code to red. According to video data, explosion sends ash plumes up 30,000 feet above sea level, and 2 ash plumes began to move to the northeast and the west-southwest. Satellite data showed by KVERT showed an ash plume a height of 36,000 feet, drift for 35 kilometers, that's 21.7 miles to the northeast from the volcano, and an ash plume of a height of about 6 to 7,000 kilometers continues to move at about 151 miles to the west-southwest. Once again, The eruption produced a small pyrocaustic flow, which spread in the southeast direction up to a distance of 5 kilometers. Ash began falling in the villages of the Keys at about 14:30 local time today and lasted for about 1 hour. Estimated that no more than 100 grams of ash fell per square meter, adding that accurate data will be reported after the analysis. Wow. It's been a very active, 10 days, I'd say, for volcanoes here at the end of 2018. Literally going out with a bang. I noticed a comment earlier today, and it really wrapped it up pretty simply. Exposure this planet is getting right now from cosmic radiation is heating up our core, and with that it is pushing the molten lava, the gases, everything is being pushed out because of basically cosmic rays, radiation heating up the core of our planet. And then you've got to factor in the cooling of the atmosphere, so which is part of the whole contraction thing with earthquakes and tectonic movements. So what we've been talking about on this channel for the past couple of years, what people like Valentina Zarkova talk about, what John L. Casey talks about in Upheaval, I believe we're starting to see this happening right before our eyes. You can say that we just live in a time where things are easily reported now because everybody's got a cell phone that can go to Twitter and whatnot, but I beg to differ. I don't think even major news media outlets are talking about these volcano eruptions, these tsunamis, these earthquakes, these natural disasters near the Ring of Fire and other places as well. So we'll leave a link in the description for the Shiveluch volcanic explosion. Again, we just reported on this 2 days ago, and the Watchers.news had also told us that scientists expected an eruption of an ash plume of as high as 29 to 45,000 feet. And sure enough, we got that 36,000 feet ash plume on the 29th of December. Also, sudden eruption at Mount Agung. Ashfall reported around the volcano of Indonesia. A new eruption took place in Indonesia, Mount Agung, Bali, at 20:09 UTC on December 29, 2018. Then ashfall was reported in the nearby communities. Alert level remains at a 3 on a scale of 1 to 4. The eruption lasted about 3 minutes and 8 seconds with an amplitude of 22 millimeters. According to Darwin VAC, volcanic ash was observed on the satellite imagery at 2100 UTC, rising up 18,000 feet above sea level. And pretty significant, nothing huge, but still pretty significant, nearly 20,000 feet, as we see the light ash covering here on cars and other vegetation. There was no significant increase in seismicity prior to the eruption. However, several volcanic earthquakes were recorded on the northern slopes of the volcano on December 28th, including a magnitude of 2.7 and 2.4, indicating the movement of magma to the surface. Satellite imagery obtained from December 27th to the 29th did not show any thermal anomalies at the crater, indicating no fresh lava material is present at the top of the volcano. The previous eruption of this volcano was July 27th of 2018. Based on overall data analysis, the potential for a larger eruption is still relatively small, according to the PVMBG volcanologist said on December 30th. The volcano remains on a level 3. People living around Mount Agung, as well as climbers, visitors, tourists, are urged to respect exclusion zones, currently including all areas within 4 kilometers, which is 2.5 miles. This is subject to change at any time, according to the PVMBG. So again, another minor volcanic eruption with a decent sized ash plume. Again, yesterday we talked about Cleveland, and today we have 2 more volcano eruptions to talk about. It just seems like we've witnessed an uptick. With that being said, let's talk about, actually, where's the other volcano story? No, we don't have one. I think, this storm here. So we had a 7.2 earthquake near the Philippines. Now we have Tropical Depression Usman dropped heavy rain over parts of the Philippines over the weekend, causing floods, landslides, which killed at least 50 people. 17 remain missing, and it made landfall on December 29th, has since weakened into a low-pressure area. Rains, however, are still spreading through the eastern central provinces. Now, according to this weather report here, it looks like some of these areas saw a month worth of rain in just 2 days. Quickly, I'll go over some of the cities. Weather station in Dayet, Cameroon's north, registered around 22.5 inches of rain in 48 hours. Their normal December rainfall is 23 inches in December. Same time period, Legazepi City, Albay recorded around 18.11 inches. Their normal rainfall is 20. So near, if not even, amounts in 2 days for an entire month worth of rain in some of these areas here near the Philippines. So they're getting rocked with earthquakes, and now heavy flooding, landslides displaced more than 22,000 people in 6 worst affected provinces, according to the regional civil defense. And we see the floodwaters here, people just waiting to be rescued, and this is already in an area where it's, rural area, remote areas, not easy to get to in the first place. So this is going to take some time for people to get the help they need. The low pressure area, which used to be the tropical depression Usman, and the tail end of a cold front are still bringing heavy rain on December 30th, while landslides are affecting residents in the provinces of Albay, Canton-Douanes, Sorgason, Cameroons Sioux, and Cameroons North. I would imagine that might be a different word for north and south. Who knows? Anyway, we'll leave the link in the description. You guys can check out Tropical Depression Usman, who dropped lots of rain. Again, it's been a while since we've had to talk about flooding events that are getting their month's worth of rain in 1 day, but here we are once again talking about the story on thewatchers.news. Frozen taps, bone-chilling cold. Kashmir battles a Chilia Kalan, its harshest winter in 3 decades. Thanks to the Starman for bringing this to my attention. Srinagar, the harshest time of winter in Kashmir, is called Chilia Kalan, the 40-day long period which begins on December 21st and ends on January 31st. The temperature in the night is below freezing, and during the day it's in the single digits. They're talking about Celsius here. This year, however, the winter is harsher than nearly 3 decades. On Thursday, in the J&K Summer's capital, Srinagar, and the night temperature was recorded at minus 7.6 degrees. Coldest December night in 28 years. 65-year-old man had died of apparent complications due to the cold. That night, Srinagar witnessed record cold. South Kashmir and Tann record low temperatures of 6.7. A famous tourist destination, was the valley's coldest place at negative 9.5 degrees Celsius. So once again, and they get a little bit more in-depth, personal, intimate details. Individuals falling sick, chest colds, chest disease, fever is very common. Elderly and children are the most vulnerable. But this is intense cold conditions, as they've seen it get so cold where pipes have frozen before. But a lot of residents are now saying that this is a little bit worse than past. And just another example of the beginning of this harsh cold that we're going to see. I also believe, if I'm not mistaken, the UK is going to get a shot of cold air on New Year's Day. Most of the European nations over there will experience some brutally cold air due to this incoming polar vortex disruption that is coming here very soon. And while we're talking about cold, Winter Storm Eboni claims the 6 lives, causes widespread flooding, rare New Mexico blizzard as well. Wrecks and whiteouts prompted authorities to close a stretch of I-70 from the Colorado border to Hays. The Weather Channel reports Minnesota State Patrol said it responded to 167 crashes, 259 spin-offs, and about 13 jackknife semis on December 27th. The Kansas Highway Patrol said it responded to at least 29 crashes. Whiteout conditions in the storm forced closure of portions of I-80 in Nebraska. The Nebraska Department of Transportation shut down westbound I-80 between North Platte and Grand Island because of blizzard conditions. Eastbound I-80 and Highway 30 were closed to North Platte and Lexington. The storm also caused numerous flight delays, cancellations. Nearly all flights out of Fargo, North Dakota were canceled. In Oklahoma Panhandle, heavy snow caused several closures, including State Highway 54, where several accidents took place. 2 highway patrol vehicles were involved in separate crashes on icy roads in Utah. I-25 has since been closed. I mean, this is nearly impossible. This is in Santa Fe, by the way. According to the Weather Channel, a teenager died in a crash in Kansas on December 27th. The second fatality linked to the storm occurring during a crash in Minnesota. Another driver was killed on snow-covered roads in North Dakota. A pedestrian was struck and killed by a pickup truck with a plow blade in Minnesota. Ebony's warm side brought widespread floodings to the south, where a woman was killed when a tree fell on her camper. Another woman was killed when she fell into a creek near Chattanooga. The storm has triggered flood emergencies, street flooding, and high water rescues. Multiple rescues were conducted during the morning hours of December 28th from homes in the areas just east of Hattiesburg. Standing water closed numerous roads across Georgia, where a woman of a 2-month-old child had to be rescued due to their pickup truck ran off the road into a river near Atlanta. And here is video footage of the rescue. At least 25 residents were evacuated from rising floodwaters in Mills River, North Carolina, the Weather Channel reports. In Louisiana, more than a dozen homes were flooded in St. Charles Parish on December 27th. AccuWeather senior meteorologist Christina said that visibility dropped down 1/4 of a mile around Albuquerque, New Mexico, where a rare blizzard brought a shocking amount of snow on December 27th and the 28th, causing extensive travel issues and a shutdown of large areas in the state. The majority of the snow that fell around Albuquerque came Thursday night, when 2 inches were reported at the airport, but 4 to 5 inches in the far eastern heights of the city. Then strong winds increased on Friday morning that shut the snow mostly off for the city. Those winds, however, blew the snow that fell around dramatically reduced visibility. Sounds like weather chaos that Ebony brought here right before the end of the year. And, of course, Watchers has a extended look here at what we're going to be looking at in New Year's Eve and past the New Year. Also, we have reports of rain to talk about. A large area of modest rain will spread northward with a total of 1 to 2 inches possible. Rainfall may be enhanced by thunderstorms, possibly severe, especially on Monday, and we'll talk about that here just in a little bit. I have a little bit to talk about with the southern part of the country on New Year's Eve, and here we go. Severe weather has the potential to add a little unwelcome excitement to this New Year's Eve. The Storm Prediction Center has placed a slight risk for severe weather over parts of North and West Alabama, and a marginal risk farther to the south on Monday afternoon and evening. A slight risk means scattered severe storms will be possible, and a marginal risk means isolated severe storms will be possible as well. The National Weather Service in Huntsville, Alabama, is expecting a line of strong storms to move into Alabama on Monday afternoon or evening ahead of a cold front. The storms are forecast to track from the west to east across the state, but they could still lose some of their punch as they do. Forecasters said the damaging winds and more heavy rain will be the main concerns, but there could also be a brief tornado. Talk about ending 2018 with the bang. We've got earthquakes, we've got volcanoes, we've got blizzards, we've got tornadoes possibly, flooding everywhere, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. Very, very active weather at this point, although if you look at our radar right now, you wouldn't know it. But all over the world, we are experiencing some kind of weather event right now, or some kind of seismic event as well. The Weather Service said the area of greatest concern will be along the west of the line from Selma to Clanton to Anniston. This is all in the south here, Alabama, Georgia area. The Weather Service in Mobile said a few strong storms will be possible for interior southwest Alabama on Monday afternoon or evening, roughly north and west of the line from Thomasville to Wiggins, Mississippi. Forecasters said that the instability further south and east will likely be too low for stronger storms. So, very interesting weather setup that we're going to have here on New Year's Eve, tomorrow into tomorrow evening. And before I get into a couple of our local weather reports, I saw this article, and the reason why I'm sharing it tonight is because I had a coworker who, just your average day person, doesn't really follow the news too closely or weather or stuff like that. Just working a job, not really paying attention to a lot of stuff. But they see the commercials on TV about how the polar bears are starving and they're dying and this and that. Well, Here's an article or this part of the video where you should show that friend of yours or that coworker that says the same thing where, well, I thought the polar bears were dying. Well, in fact, that's the total opposite. Says here they're thriving. Polar bears aren't being wiped out by shrinking ice and climate change, Inuits claim. Polar bears are thriving in the Arctic despite scientific warnings that they are on the brink of extinction, according to Inuit elders. Experts say the melting ice and climate change has become an existential threat for the bears, but Arctic locals claim the population has increased by 400%. Here's a playful little lad right here, jumping around on some ice, some frozen stuff there up in the Arctic. Experts say that the melting ice and climate change has become, okay, they just repeated themselves here. I love these articles. The claim comes just months after hunter Aaron Gibbons was mauled by one of the beasts near a tiny Canadian hamlet now overrun by the bears. So, you don't want to encounter a polar bear. They're not cute and they don't want a Coca-Cola. So if you're telling people this is part of the dangers of AGW and their disinformation. When they tell people that, don't worry about going in the north and bumping into any polar bears. That's just not going to happen. They're dying. The ice is melting. The Arctic is warmer. Don't worry about it. These things are, going extinct up there. First of all, if that was the case, I wouldn't want to be anywhere near a pack of starving polar bears. So I would stay away from areas that could even possibly have that chance of bumping into a polar bear. But just more example of how disinformation, maybe these people, this hunter Aaron Gibbons would have been mauled if he would have been a little more aware, or maybe if was concerned. Apparently, public word around there was not of concern because consensus are saying all this stuff about Arctic warming and the polar bears are dying, so it's safe, right? David Alaglak, sorry if I butchered your name here, 74-year-old, said the population in the area has increased by 300 to 400%. Everywhere the hunters go, they see polar bears. The tribal elder who shot and killed his first bear at 9 years old told the Mail on Sunday there are a lot more bears than in the past. He goes, there's another local there said when he was a kid, I didn't worry about bears. Now you have to keep your eyes open and your ears clean. I wish scientists from down south who say they're dying out would come and spend 1 year or even 5 years and they would know about this increase. If we had scientists living here, they would have a different perspective. This is coming from a person who lives there, okay? Not some fake news website that's funded by Al Gore and his cronies, all right? Mayor Bob Leonard, who has lived in the Arctic for 45 years, said something has happened in the past 6 or 7 years. We never used to see bears. Even if we went camping somewhere like Century Island, people are angry and afraid. So, just another article that I wanted to bring up because I had an experience the other day where we started talking about polar bears and fake news and how there's so much disinformation out there. And the person that overheard our conversation was appalled that I had told my colleague that Washington Post, New York Times, and Huffington Post sometimes put out fake news. And we all know Washington Post. They always put fake climate stuff on their website. They always talk about heat records that later get debunked by websites like What's Up With That, Anthony Watson, all them over there, where they reveal that these record temperatures were rejected because of difficulties with instruments or just the actual location of these weather sensors to begin with. And it was interesting to me how appalled he was that I shared that opinion about those websites putting out fake news. And I was very polite to him at first. He kind of was upset with me and showed it. And he asked me how I could stand there and tell those lies. And I said, it's a matter of opinion, not fact, but I have a strong opinion about that. And that's what I believe anyway. You really can't prove fact on anything anymore these days. But, and then I challenged him about my First Amendment speech rights. And it's just like NOAA.climategov over there on Facebook, where ever I asked an honest question about the ice gain or the decrease of the temperatures or what's going on with atmospheric or stratospheric warming, and I got rejected. I got pushed back. I got told that the science is settled. How dare you question what's already been settled? So, I just wanted to share this article because we don't see enough articles that talk about how the bears are thriving. Unfortunately, the bears are thriving and mauling people up here near the Arctic. And just a clear indication, when you have Inuits, local Inuits, who are tribesmen of the area of many, many, many generations, and they're telling you the population has increased by 400%, I think it's time to start listening. All right, so today I wanted to share with you guys a report from Starman, and we follow the ENSO, the El Nino event, if it's ever going to happen. And I wanted to read what Starman had given me today because, he's one of the first people, him and Rob are one of the first two people that actually pointed to me about how we've got temperature readings on this graph, like this one, like this right here, that don't match what we see in this graph. So, I guess I should go back. When we look at this graph here, and then this graph here, they usually don't match at times. Like yesterday's reading of 0.91 above baseline. Where in the hell is that at compared to what we see right here? I mean, look at it right now. 23 degrees Celsius, 25, 26, 27, 27. All right, so let me read to you what the Starman has reported to us about what is happening. And some of this terminology, I apologize if I butcher, but here's the best that I can do for you guys. Now, if you look at the graph, he's got a legend to the right. The blue dot is previous average temperature. Right now is 29 degrees Celsius. Currently, it is 28 degrees Celsius. So that's where the blue dots are. The gray dots, previous average temperature, 27 degrees Celsius. Currently, they are 28 degrees north at 26 degrees south. The average is 27.6 degrees Celsius. So slightly above average. Previous average temperature in the 25 to 27 degrees Celsius. Current is 24 to 26 degrees. And region 1-2 is no change at all. Says here, looking at SST from previous update, we can see that there has been an easterly progression of warmer than average sea surface temperatures. However, this very slight, and in the region of the 0.25 C, what is more noticeable, the 20 C isotherm, which has reached the warming downdwelling. This, in effect, will block the upwelling cooler waters off the coast of Peru. Not good if you make your living from fishing, and that's duly noted. El Nino currently is in effect, however, atmospheric coupling is not reacting at this stage, and the outlook remains very weak or moderate. Expect a weak moderate El Nino event with SST ranging from 0.8 to 1.25 above average in Central Eastern Pacific in January-February. A strong event is not likely. Given the above, I do not expect global temperatures to increase to any significance and OLR response accordingly. So, I know there was some speculation that it is possible that we could see some warmer temperatures when we get the readings from Dr. Roy Spencer in the months of February, March, and April. But according to the Starman's report, it does seem that we will continue to see this trend almost stay neutral, in my opinion. When I see reports like this, and I've heard about Modaki El Nino from this community, people like Carlos Ramirez and Starman and others, this has been talked about since June, July of this past summer. And these guys have been right. You got people like Noah, who has been quiet on the social internet lately. I guess it's because the government shut down. They're affected. Appropriate funds aren't coming in and whatnot. But, it's good to know people like Starman, Carlos Ramirez, others in the community that help us out on behind the scenes. And Starman does all his work. These are his charts. He's not copying anything. This is his work. So very crucial, and I appreciate that he shared this with me, and hopefully I will continue to share these reports. I probably should have been doing this for a while.
I'm giving him his own section for the website.
For the website.
He's going to be an author, so he can publish all these.
So there you have it, folks. Starman will have his own section on our website when we do the relaunch. That way he will be able to conduct these reports, and that'll make it a lot easier for me to access them and also report them during our podcast as well. So very, very grateful that we have your contributions, David. Thank you very much again for this information. And with that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at some current conditions in our weather right now. Taking a look at the radar situation. Heavy rain in the south, moving in through Texas, parts of Louisiana into Arkansas, western Tennessee, parts of Mississippi getting heavy rain as well. And we are expecting wet weather across the south. Now, more snow, unfortunately. Let's go to a current snow lookout. And we are looking at more snow in South Dakota and North Dakota. Morris, Minnesota. Aberdeen, South Dakota. Bismarck, North Dakota. And it's cold, guys. Fargo is 24 degrees. Grand Forks, 16 degrees. So plenty of snow to go around here in the northern plains. Billings, Montana, sitting at 28 degrees. Cody, Nebraska, 26 degrees. Idaho Falls, 24. So temperatures are very stable for snowfall, and this will continue through the evening across the northwest and the northern plains throughout the overnight hours as temperatures will stay below freezing. As we take a look at the south right now, and looks like the heaviest rain is going to be just north of Shreveport. That's a little too close there, folks. Sorry about that. Here we go. Gotta love live performances here. My goodness. Here we go. All right. So at Shreveport, Little Rock, you guys are just getting out of the heavy rain, and it is going to continue to move east and northeast as we speak here. Let's take a look at the GFS, though. Significant storm system coming up here on New Year's Eve. This low pressure system will combine near Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, start off as rain, and it will drag colder air behind it with it. But when this storm leaves on New Year's Day, there will be light snow showers in the northeast, and high pressure starts building in and drops a cold front all the way down into New Mexico, Arizona, Utah. We're going to see some very cold weather starting to make its way down in here, and it's going to come in cold blasts. This is just the first one, and we've got several to come. One especially looking at in the middle of January that's starting to show up a little bit more clearly now. But here's another low pressure system on the 3rd into the 4th of January, and it looks like the northeast might have some kind of disruption by next weekend, January 5th. Some light snow accumulations possible with that before another system goes through the northeast once again to start off the week early of the following week. Now here we get into Monday, January 7th, Tuesday, January 8th. Now that cold air is starting to really set in the east and the eastern Atlantic and northeast. Warmer weather in the northwest and in the western part of the country, but colder conditions are starting to become relevant here in the northeast. By mid-January here, we have another low pressure system, and that comes through as rain to start. Now this is way far out. This is January 12th. But when this ends, January 13th, this will all be snow and a lot of cold air behind it with more snow behind it as well. Now the reason why this is the part where I think we start to see the really cold air starting to come into the eastern part of the United States, the Ohio Valley, West Virginia, into Pennsylvania, upstate New York, and further into the northeast. And I'll show you why I think that. Taking a look at our temperatures. Watch the Arctic air. Here in the next couple days, it's going to stay mild here on the east and in the northeast. And then we get to January 2nd. That's when we start seeing much colder air for January starting to settle in. But it kind of goes in a little bit of waves. We see a brief mild, and when I say brief mild, I'm saying mid-30s, possibly upper 30s to the low 40s by the 5th of January. And then after that low pressure system that comes in and starts off as rain, see we got Arctic air coming in now, and by January 5th we start to see it kissing the northeast. All right, keeping things average for most of the country past the 6th of January. But if you guys can look here in the north, Canada, southern Canada, we start to see that Arctic air start to creep into the northern parts of the United States, especially here in the northeast. By January 8th, parts of the northern plains will also see a cold blast as well. of Arctic air. But the models are starting to show us now this possibility of the polar vortex disruption developing late, early next week, and then again mid-month. Look at all this cold air that's right above the United States. Going into January 13th, more Arctic air, even colder Arctic air by the 14th, filtering its way down into the northeast, into the UP of Michigan. So we will keep our eyes on this situation, as we've been talking about it now for quite some time, and it looks like that we're finally going to see that formation of that polar vortex disruption. And as you guys look here in the United States on January 15th, this is like 2 Tuesdays out. But something to note, the majority of the country will be below freezing. Deep south, you'll still be looking at temperatures in the 40s, lower 40s, upper 30s. Some will see 20s in northern Georgia and northern Alabama, Tennessee, parts of Arkansas, Oklahoma, northern part of Texas. All of you, as far south as that line that we're looking at right now, below freezing. But this is the area that I'm concerned with more. And if we start to see a ridging here where this comes back to a little bit more milder readings, then I will wonder if this very, very cold Arctic air will dip further into the northeast and just kind of hang out here for a couple weeks off and on. This is when it was predicted, the middle of January to the end of January through February. So brace yourself, folks. The real winter is coming. A couple of days here of up and down temperatures, mild here in the northeast, across the United States as well. But I do believe that cold weather will eventually start to settle in and take its place here for the next several weeks, if not months, here in the winter of 2019. Again, New Year's Eve not looking terrible for the majority of the country, but we start to see a lot of that colder air in the northwest going into the northern plains. But by New Year's Day, the majority of that mild air is going to be pushed south thanks to that Arctic blast that's coming our way. And again, we see greens and yellows, folks, but these are just upper 30s, some low 50s and 60s on the 6th of January. But like I said, this mild air is losing the fight as we get deeper into winter, and this cold air is now becoming more dominant over North America and into the lower 48. Taking a look at the snow coverage for January 9th, not much has changed. Maybe a little bit more snow across the northern plains than the Dakotas, Nebraska, Kansas, and the Rocky Mountains. The northeast might experience a little bit heavier snow than we once originally thought. Upstate New York might get a little bit in the upper higher elevations. Take a look at the temperatures in the El Nino 3-4 region. Look, I mean, this is significant, in my opinion, to see this kind of cooling in a period of time where this is where we should see the peak of this El Nino warming event, which should be in the range of 0.8 to 125, like Starman had said, and yet we're still struggling as we see the North Atlantic is cooling once again down to 0.026 above baseline, so just almost at or below baseline right now. And the El Nino 3-4, I reported yesterday, it was a 9.1 something above baseline. Even a 0.78 above baseline still seems a little high when you take a look at these readings on this chart right here. And so, it's a subtle victory, but there will be ice gain in the Arctic this year. As of right now, we are barely above. We are now at 12.352 millions of square kilometers of Arctic sea ice extent. Now, we started the year at 12.324. And right now, we have one more day. We are at almost a value of 0.02 higher than what we were this time starting 2018. So we still have 2 more days of readings to come in. But as of right now, and it's something, but we are going to start off next year with slightly more Arctic ice growth. So that begs the question, is that going to be too little to prove anything, and do we have to have another year under our belts before we start seeing that separation of ice growth once again? I can tell you this, gain is gain, no matter how little it is or how big it is, gain is gain, and we definitely have to, we have some serious proof now that's going to shut up a lot of skeptics about whether or not we're losing ice or if we're warming still. I showed you guys that temperature chart yesterday from Dr. Roy Spencer, a very, very crucial chart to reveal to everyone, as it shows you where from 2014, we saw the maximum peak, and everything started to shoot way up. By 2016, that was when the warming stopped, and everything started falling down to 17, and then down to 18. And where's 19 going to be? Somewhere along the bottom or below it. So, interesting stuff that we are seeing right now, folks, developing in our conditions. Sea ice extent of the Arctic is very solid right now. Mari, what is your problem? I got Chuckles back here. I'm trying to give a report, and I've got Chuckles back here laughing. Apparently, there's something funny in the chat, so let me check. No?
I'm just joking. Hey, a 5.8 just happened in Alaska, Jake. A smaller one happened earlier. But I just got a notification, 5.8. What's it? I'm telling them what your vegetable consumption is. And I said your vegetable consumption consists of French fries and tater tots.
So here we go. So I look at the chat and I see mushroom talk. And that's why Mari's trying to keep me away from the chat, because they're in here. There's people in here trying to talk me into mushrooms. It's not going to happen, folks. I can't explain my hate for mushrooms.
We have other, meat eaters, and I'm like, Jake's a meat eater. I'm like, but the vegetables, his vegetables are French fries and tater tots.
I'll try them, folks. Maybe hey, you know what? When there's a food shortage and you put some salt on them mushrooms, I guess I'm going to have to try them.
Carlton isn't in here. He has a crazy mushroom growing operation. It's all about preparation and marinating with the shrooms and the sprouts and stuff.
I want to say hi to a couple people, and then I'll let you say hello. Rob, super quick fix. Thank you for tuning in. Mandy, thanks for coming back. We've seen you before. Steelers, Saints, Cardinals. Hello there. Phyllis, Starman, of course. Thor, thank you for tuning in. Rebecca, Pete, good to see you as always. Sandcastle Dreams, glad you can make it tonight.
Well, I got to beg to differ with that one, Rob. I do have a notification southeast of Cold Bay, Alaska, had a 5.8.
So we will see.
Let me see how deep it was.
Hello, Sydney. How are you doing? Big A.
34 kilometers.
What up, Big A? Put some barbecue sauce on it, says Mandy. Everything tastes better with barbecue sauce or hot sauce. I got to believe hot sauce might have to... 5.8 7 minutes ago. So I guess Rob was reporting a new earthquake. Mushrooms are okay if you smother them in salsa, says Daniel.
No, I was
Sneeden.
You got to season them with garlic and even
the hotter the better. I agree, Daniel.
Worcestershire sauce, or how do you say the
Brown's Rule, says Richard Brzezinski. I agree with that as well. Watch out for next year. I think that's it as far as I wanted to say hello to everybody. How about you?
That's, you know what, it's been interesting in the chat. It's interesting to see all the new faces. The reason why I got onto vegetables and mushrooms was because people were talking about squirrel, and it's just making me cringe a bit. I'm just sort of ugh, because people...
It might be a little gamey.
It was a few months ago, people were joking about penguin, and that made me real creeped out. I'm just you know, the
But if you're hungry,
I guess.
Are you going to eat it?
Yeesh. You know?
You never know.
I think the squirrels are so
cute. It might have to eat their cute asses. Who knows? All right, guys, that's going to do it for me tonight. We want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Grand Solar Minimum Evening Edition here on Sunday. We tentatively are planning a show for New Year's Eve. That could change. It just depends on how crazy things get by the end of the night here, but we do tentatively have a show planned for tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. We hope you can join us. If not, we totally understand. You could watch us on the flip side tomorrow morning or the morning after. Guys, check out our Twitter page, our Patreon page. The website is still under construction, but we are making a lot of progress, and we promise you're going to love the new changes to the website at thegrandsolarminimum.com. We have so much in store for 2019, guys. So much to talk about, especially when we recap 2018. But mostly, we're so happy that you guys have found us and that we are getting to know each other better in 18 and hope to have a smooth 2019, but very awareness alert as well for 2019. That's going to be the number one talking point, is awareness and alert for 2019. Did you want to add something else?
Zero Tolerance to Super J. He said the shroom gods are displeased with your podcast.
I do apologize.
Thank you.
I do apologize. All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in, and we will talk soon. Take care.